Guess who's back? Back again. It's me, he's back. Back for another rant. Guess who's back? Do 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 do. Okay. Um. All right. Okay. Well, I'll stop singing. Um. Hello, one and all. Welcome back to another rant with me, Michael. It's been a long ass time since I've uh, been on camera talking. I've released some covers in the last few months, and I've had fun doing those, and I'll probably still upload some songs or what have you in the months to come. But yeah, just thought it was an easy way to get back in and get more comfortable, and yeah, here I am in the flesh with you guys, talking to you, shooting the shit, and um, well, I won't waste any more time, because we have a topic to discuss, and that topic is art, and maybe more specifically film. And it just mainly for me, this is just sort of talking about some observations I've had about the type of expectations and you know the criteria that a lot of people have when analyzing art. So, without further ado, I'll just get into it. So, when we talk about film, and more specifically film audiences, we kind of have two groups. We have the general audience, the casual audience. And the casual audience is the audience that's sort of like just goes to see movies in their downtime when they're not doing much else, just to pass the time, whether that be with family or on weekends or every once in a while. It's often done to kill time. It's not done to sort of appreciate the artwork or the film in question. It's kind of there just to entertain. And that's a valid way of watching film. And I feel like a lot of people who are casual film goers generally enjoy movies more because they're not so much thinking and analyzing every single part of it. They're just kind of taking it as it is. And I, as someone who tends to do that with their appreciation of film, I do respect that to an extent, and I think it's a cool way of watching film. But it's obviously not what most people online have when we talk about film communities online. So this leads perfectly into the second group, which is the film community online, and that's kind of the community that's generally more analytical, has more of a deep appreciation for film, and will have certain criteria and certain commonalities among a wide group of people. And the commonalities would probably be like how they digest film, how they look at film. You do see recurrent trends in like sort of people's reactions to things. Now, there are subsections within these film communities. Like, not everyone can adheres to the most common definition of a film fan, which is the dreaded film bro. Um, and those are definitely the most easy to sort of shit on and call out and go, hey, you guys, you guys have a very narrow perception of film, and you guys look at films as one thing and one thing only. Oh, it's directed by Martin Scorsese, and it's oh, it's got it's so long and sprawling, and it's got realistic performances and yada yada yada. So those are typically what's made fun of with like the most common group in the film community, at least in the online sphere. And then you have your smaller groups, like one that probably doesn't get talked about as often, but is like up and coming, is probably vulgar altruism, or the vulgar altruist group. And that would be people who kind of look at films that have been panned, or kind of films that were had a mixed reception, and kind of put it and kind of look at it in a new way. You know, give it some credit where maybe it wasn't given any. And I find this does more benefit than harm. I've seen a ton of films like um, maybe Southland Tales, Fire Walk with Me to a certain extent, and I'd say there's plenty of other Showgirls, yeah, Showgirls that have gotten reevaluations, especially in this group, and I think they are doing a ton of good, and I think it's cool that we're getting more of these varied perspectives. But I think a point has to be made about how film bros and vulgar ultras, they can just be as bad as each other. You know, the elitism does show from both ends of the spectrum. Um, I don't want to say one group is entirely bad because that's just not true. It's very reductionist, and you know, you don't want to listen to someone going around going like, these people, like, you know, it's just like it's boring, it's tired, it's cliche. You know, go to Doug Walker if you want that. Not me. All right, not me. um, but I think the main thing we have to remember here is that it's all individual. You know, each group will have people who are great and are not so great. All right. Personally, I think I definitely tend to fall into the vulgar ultras camp because I do like a lot of the movies that vulgar ultras like. But I think with me is that I like films that vulgar ultras tend to not like. Like the new Space Jam, I really liked it. And I got a lot out of it, but most people I've seen in the vulgar ultras camp, they don't like it. And the Filbro camp doesn't like it much either. So I guess that both the sides agree in that matter. And, you know, I like some sci-fi films in the teen realm, like Voyages and Chaos Walking, that a lot of people didn't like, including vulgar ultras that I like. So, you know, I think I tend to go with my gut and what I think about something, and you know, I try to judge a film on, you know, what it's trying to do rather than what it's not. You know, try to take it on its own terms, because I think the one thing about film criticism is that people have a criteria that they use to analyze film on, and there's nothing wrong with that. You kind of analyze things according to your values and ethics and taste. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. But a recurrent trend I see with a lot of criticism is that there seems to be this thing about if films apply a sort of, you know, camp or unreality or sort of fantastical sort of tone with either the story, the acting, the style, it's unintentional. Like, it just has no intentionality, which is just, frankly, it's just bullshit. Like, you know, it's bad faith readings on, you know, films that don't deserve it. You know, like films like The Happening, M. Night Shyamalan, a lot of people think that that film is unintentional. But, you know, a lot of that film is homaging to really over-the-top B movies. And I think its sense of unreality and heightens the emotional content. And it really works for me. And reducing it down to, you know, unintentionality is just, it's just the easy way out. It's just an easy way to dismiss a work. And, you know, again, I totally understand, like something like The Happening, for instance. If you don't like it because it's, you don't like the style, that's fine. But it bothers me when people dismiss it because it's unintentional. But I think I respect someone more if they know it's intentional but they still don't vibe with it. And that's more so what I respect. So at the end of the day, I think what has to happen with film criticism, and I think I'm you know, I'm not a fortune teller, I'm not a psychic, I can't predict the future, but judging by what I've been seeing and judging by, you know, the variety of people I've talked about with film, and that's from any community, I've seen more awareness in caring about more how the film makes you feel and sort of different styles of way of making films rather than sort of more logical, more like traditionally conventional films. I've seen people care less about logic and more about emotion now. Irony is not as important as it used to be 10 years ago, and that's a great thing. And I think we're gonna keep going towards that. Like, films like Southland Tales, it's undergone a massive reevaluation because like people are understanding that actually the way this makes me feel, and the way it you know sort of depicts nationwide or slash international sort of hysteria is very accurate and very emotional. And I think people have always reacted to films in this way. It's just most of the people that react to films that way aren't a part of this film community online that prefers to look at things in a very narrow sort of one way, one direction thing. If you go on Amazon and if you look at films that are panned by the critical consensus or the audience consensus on Rotten Tomatoes, you'll find a lot of people do like these films. Like Lady in the Water is one where a lot of people love it on Amazon and away from IMDb and away from Rotten Tomatoes, and the list goes on. And most people aren't looking at it in a very analytical way. They just felt it. They vibed and related to what the film was putting out there. And I think it's a trust in your own emotions and what you're feeling should be truly felt, rather than usurping it because you feel like you have to be logical, and because for some reason being logical and being analytical is seen as more valued and more sort of sought out for in the film community, rather than just being honest and being real with how something made you feel. It does it does boggle my mind, sometimes on like things that are quite simple. Like these sort of things have only started to get talked about, and we could talk about how Doug Walker and like Cinema Sins have poisoned the well, and Men in Irony poisoned society, but that's another conversation for another day. But there's no denying that this has kind of contributed to our modern sort of way of, at least in an online sense, our modern way of looking at film. So I just think that we're gonna reach a point where people are gonna get out of this whole objective funk and get into that more subjective feeling sort of area, because I think different films require different lenses. I don't look at every film in the same way. Every time in the first 10 minutes of a film, it kind of, there's that popular quote that tells you like, oh, like the first 10 minutes of a film teach how to watch the film. And I think that's true, at least to a certain extent, because you pick up on its language. Like each film has an individual language that you judge upon. Not every film's going to vibe with you, and that's okay. Not every film is made for you, but there's always going to be someone out there who's going to love something that you hate, and who's going to hate something that you love. That's just the reality. And that's what makes art so beautiful, is that everything is so different and subjective. And I think it's all it's all representations, art of our hopes and dreams, and it's always lovely to see that being put on the screen. And we can watch it as many times as we want, and we can talk about it with people, and it can start dialogues, and it can even start movements. And like look at the 1960s, how much good art was coming out then. I guess mostly from the music end, but and that was because people saw hope in art and saw things that they hadn't before, and that caused people to do shit and cause social change, and down with the society systems. And it was just like, I don't know, I might be kind of making this much bigger than it needs to be. Maybe it should be people should like what they like, and that's that, and we can discuss things, but let's not go overboard with it. And if you're going to take anything away from this video, I guess that would be it. But I think it kind of warrants someone sort of just putting this out there and saying that it's okay to be emotional when watching art, and it's okay to like what you like, regardless of what everyone thinks about it. You know, if someone tells you that you're wrong for liking cats, for example, which many people have told me because I like cats, um, they can go to hell because only you can understand why you like something. You know, you have your own reasons, and that's enough. You know, no one can tell you that you're wrong for liking something because that's just very ignorant and very, I don't know, it's just insolence. That's just what it is. And, you know, everyone, you know, that's what kind of bugs me is that people just flippantly sort of get in these arguments and, you know, go like, oh, you like this movie? What the And I don't know. It's just, it's too much for me. It gives me a headache, especially on film Twitter and, you know, that's kind of its own thing. And it does correlate to that whole, like, uh, film bro thing. Whether you're a film bro, vulgar altruist, or just a film lover, or someone who craves, you know, sincerity in art or euphoria in art, moi, then, you know, you're valid. You can watch however you want to watch it. But, you know, I think everyone should just be open to everyone's opinion and, you know, to different forms of filmmaking. And, you know, if a work doesn't speak to you right away, or for a certain set of criteria, then don't just, you know, dismiss it. You know, maybe it's trying something that, you know, is different and is challenging your preconceptions of film itself, and maybe you should give it another chance. You know, and if you still don't like it, that's fine. No one's forcing you to like anything. But yeah, thanks guys for watching this. I don't know, rant, talk, essay, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. Titling these things is difficult. Remember, y'all, it's not about what it is, it's about how you do it. Mm-mm-mm.